Have you ever told yourself, I'll be happy when you get that promotion, when you finish that project, or when you finally book that vacation? It's a really common thing. We put a little pause on our joy, thinking something out there will finally unlock it. We hold our smiles hostage, waiting for that external trigger that we believe will lift us out of the everyday. But what if lasting contentment isn't about getting those things, but about how we respond to them? What if the key is less about the triggers themselves and more about what's happening inside of us? The fallacy of change is this very common and very understandable belief that if something in our external world shifted, our emotional state would automatically shift with it. We think, if only I had a different job, a better relationship, more money, then I'd finally be okay. It's a natural human tendency to look outside ourselves for solutions, but it often leads us down a frustrating path. It's not that external events don't affect us. They absolutely do. But they rarely dictate our core well-being. Think about lottery winners. That initial rush is incredible, right? But research consistently shows that most winners return to their baseline level of happiness within a year or two. The money gives a temporary boost, but it doesn't fundamentally change how they feel day to day. This isn't about dismissing good fortune. It's a reminder that lasting satisfaction usually comes from what's happening within us, not from an influx of external things. It's about the internal landscape, not just the scenery. This pattern weaves its way into our daily lives. Let's look at a few examples. Think about career expectations. When I finally get that promotion, then the stress is going to disappear. But what often happens? You get the promotion, and suddenly you're dealing with new deadlines, office politics, and even more responsibility. The stress doesn't magically vanish, it just transforms. Or think about creative projects. You pour your heart into something, and while you're proud of it, you don't feel that genuine sense of accomplishment until you get praise from a friend or a follower. Your joy becomes contingent on their approval. It's like you're waiting for someone else to give you permission to feel good about something you created. And then there's relationship dynamics. If my partner would just stop checking their phone during dinner, then I'd feel more connected. We hope for a change in someone else's behavior instead of exploring our own needs for connection. It's kind of like thinking, if I could just control the actions of others, then I'd be happy. In each of these scenarios, happiness is outsourced to a future self or to another person. The immediate reward is put on hold, waiting for something external to happen. It keeps us stuck in a waiting game and can pull us away from personal fulfillment. So why do our minds tend to go down this road? There's a few reasons. The first one is the illusion of simplicity. Fixing something outside ourselves feels a lot easier than digging into our own complex feelings. If the workload decreases, everything will be fine. That sounds a lot easier than actually exploring why we feel so overwhelmed in the first place. Second, there's cultural reinforcement. Think about all of the advertising, the movies, and the social media we're bombarded with. They constantly tell us that the next product, the next promotion, the next vacation will solve all of our problems. That messaging becomes a kind of mental shortcut. And third, there's the fear of responsibility. Taking charge of our own happiness can be really daunting. It requires honest introspection, self-questioning, and sometimes facing very uncomfortable truths. It's a lot easier to hope for external change than to engage in self-reflection. Choosing the external path can feel safe in the short term, but it often prevents us from developing the inner resilience we need to navigate life's challenges. So, how do we get out of this cycle? The first step is self-awareness. When you catch yourself thinking, if only this changed, just pause. Ask yourself a couple of questions. What am I truly waiting for? What is the feeling I'm hoping this change is going to bring? Do I actually have control over this change? Is it something I can realistically influence? Or am I putting my happiness in someone else's hands? Once you've identified that trigger, shift your focus to what you can control. Your mindset, your reactions, your habits. It's about moving from being a passenger in your own life to being the driver. Another thing that can be really helpful is practicing gratitude. Instead of focusing on what's missing, start a daily gratitude practice. List the small wins. It's a sunny day. You have a supportive friend. You had a moment of laughter. Gratitude literally rewires your brain to notice the good things that are happening right now, making the future feel a lot less like a prerequisite for happiness. It's about appreciating the present moment. Building resilience is important as well. This is where things get really powerful. Tools like mindfulness and journaling aren't about eliminating negative emotions. They're about building your capacity to manage those emotions. Even just a few minutes a day of mindfulness practice, allowing yourself to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment, can create a little bit of space between you and your reactions. Writing about your feelings and successes can reveal patterns over time. So journaling is a great way of getting to know your inner world and understanding what truly motivates you. Cognitive distortions like the fallacy of change are completely normal human quirks. We're not expected to eliminate them entirely. That's completely unrealistic. Instead, we need to recognize them, understand where they come from, and redirect our focus inward. When we see the pattern, acknowledge it without self-criticism, we can ask ourselves, what can I do right now to feel more grounded? Remember, this isn't about becoming perfectly happy all the time. Life has ups and downs. Instead, it's about building an inner foundation that allows us to navigate those challenges with more resilience and with more grace. Ultimately, emotional well-being isn't about the next promotion, the next vacation, or the next relationship milestone. It's about cultivating a mindset that thrives regardless of external circumstances. By embracing this internal rhythm, you unlock a more enduring and a more authentic form of happiness. One that's ready when you are, not when everything else aligns. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me today. If these ideas resonated with you, you'll find more thoughts like this at Quiet Frontier. That's where I write about mind, meaning, purpose, and connection. There's a link in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Take good care.